as humans, like you in the back of your brain where it all started in the brain stem, it's like an evolutionary filter for bears. And if you come at somebody with a solution or with data or technology, it's like, bear, stop. Like it won't even allow your
Right.
brain to get to the prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
But if you say, I've got a story for you, or you tell a story, the bear detector is like, it's just a story. It's not a bear. Go ahead and listen.
Welcome to Extraordinary Stories. I'm your host, Forbes Shannon, and the guest today, multifaceted. He's a sailor. He's got his whole ship series, which we'll get into. That's what I'm really excited about. But he's also the director of the Entrepreneur Center at UC Irvine. Ryan Foland. Ryan, thanks for being here.
Ahoy. It's great to be here. You did forget that I'm probably the proudest ginger that you'll meet. So I'll make sure to keep that top line as well.
And you know what? I had that note in my bio too, and I just totally left it out. The
It's
proudest
okay.
ginger.
People forget about the gingers all the time. I'm just here to make sure they remember that we still exist and we do have souls and we're good people. Freckles
You
are
know,
like solar panels. They're like that's what gives us our energy. So just trying to, trying to preach the gospel. And you know what, Forbes, you can be an honorary ginger today as well. So it's we're all the same.
yeah, I mean, I shaved my head and my beard is red, so that's like makes me a ginger at this point, right?
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I mean, claim it. It's a great thing.
You actually said on our pre-call, and I'm just gonna say this for our listeners,
Sure.
like
Spill the beans.
being a ginger as a kid was miserable, but now you're just
Yes.
fully leaning into it. Yeah?
You know, exactly. And I realize, and I tell people this all the time, whatever somebody's trying to take you down for, or where they're making fun of you for, they're just secretly jealous. They're just jealous that they don't have that. It's just a weird displacement. And honestly, being a ginger was such a nightmare as a kid that like I've just reclaimed it. And there's a lot of speakers, there's a lot of authors, but the barrel gets smaller when it's speaker, author, ginger, sailor. And so I think we all have these filters, and the more we can pick filters that are meaningful from us, then
Mhm.
it just kind of makes it lighthearted. And I work with a lot of people and known for helping them market and brand themselves. And so many times they just go for the default. Well, I want to be known as a speaker or an author. And you're like, okay, great. And what? Like what makes
Right.
you you? Like a speaker's a speaker, great. And I think we all have a chance to add a little bit of personality, or you're extraordinary, because otherwise it's just meh, right? Like
Yeah.
content is not hard to come by. So how can you stand out a little bit and chase the past and find out what somebody made fun of you for, and then go grab it and bring it back to you?
Yeah. Nice. Okay, we're gonna get into the fact that you help people communicate themselves with clarity and confidence, but you just said something about narrowing the barrel.
Yeah.
It gets narrower when you throw in ginger. So I'm curious, like if you're at a gathering and you see another
Yes.
ginger, are you like,
Yes.
"Hey, leave. These are my people"? Like, is it
No,
competitive? No.
I'm so excited. I was giving a talk yesterday to a bunch of engineers, and in every talk I give, I always introduce myself as like a proud ginger, and then there's this like kind of weird awkward silence, and then I go, Any gingers in the house? Any gingers?" And nobody ever raises their hand because there's never a ginger, right? And
Right.
then I'm like, okay, well, it's okay, and I give them all the honorary title, but they all got a copy of my book afterwards. I signed it, and then after the books were signed, this girl, she sort of is awkwardly kind of coming up and standing at a distance. And I know she wants to talk. So I'm like, hey, what's going on? She comes over. She's like, my name's Ryan too. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, so we just had this instant bond over the
Right.
name Ryan. Okay. And then she's like, have you heard about the Ryan meetup group? I'm like, oh my God. Yes, the Ryan meetup group. I'm trying to become the chapter head down here in Orange County. And I'm talking with them. They've already got a LA chapter. So no matter whether it's being ginger or the same name, the same sports team, or something that you like to do for fun, there's this like instant connection that you just like can latch onto. And I think you'll learn more about that when I write my relationship book, but it's all
Mhm.
about finding common ground. And it's almost like I want to think like maybe video game style, y- like an extra free life that you get with somebody instantly because there's some sort of a connection. You and I, when we first met, I looked at your bookshelf, and I was like, dude, we have the same sort of setup. And like all of a sudden, we're bookshelf buddies.
Right, right. Okay, that's a unique way of putting it. An extra life, right? So like you can really screw up and say something later, but I gave you a pass because we're both named Ryan. Is that what you mean by
It's
that?
no, it's not like you. I mean, it's not about messing up. I don't think you can necessarily mess up. I think that it's more about like free credits or like extra,
Oh,
maybe
extra
it's more of
credit.
a fast. Okay,
Hmm.
it's more of a level skip. So like
Okay.
when you go down the tunnel and then it do 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 do, and you end up in like 4 levels ahead. That's what
Yeah.
it is.
Okay.
Because it's the same thing happens when the concept of I don't know I forget the phrase, but like micro speed dating, right? Now I'm happily
Mm,
married. I've been married forever and been with my wife forever, but like I've got game and there was a lot of game and game is even not necessarily like, the other sex, but like just connecting and meeting people.
right. Hmm.
So there's this concept of if you go on a single date and let's say you go to a movie, or if it's not a date, you meet somebody for coffee. That's like one touch point.
Hmm.
And then it might take 2, 3, 4 touch points to really get to know them. But if before you go to coffee, you take a little walk and then you do coffee and then you skip and you go somewhere else and then you do something else. Like if you can pack in 3 or 4 connections instead of over 4 times, you put it into one time, it accelerates a relationship. There's more of a bonding, it's faster. So to have a
Totally.
same name, to be a ginger, to have a similar bookshelf, it just gets you a few levels forward in that relationship.
I love that. I love that. So,
Here's another one, just real quick. I don't wanna eat up the whole time on this, but when we came on, we were dissimilarly framed, right? I was up here, I was big in the frame, and I saw
mhm.
you back, so I was like, "Hey, should I scoot back so we're even?" And you're like, "Dude, no one has ever asked that before. I love podcasting with podcasters." And so we've got
Right.
podcast pals, and we went, "Whoop, whoop, whoop." We've, like, accelerated levels, so the
Hmm.
amount of time that we've spent together is relatively small,
Yeah.
but I don't know
Hmm.
about you, but like you're a ginger, you got the bookshelf, you're a
Yeah.
podcaster. So like
100%.
we're good to go.
I uh I had a party at my place, the studios here, and my girlfriend invited her friend and her friend's boyfriend, and I'd never met him before. And I was like, "So what do you do?" He's like, "Oh, I have a podcast." It's like, "Bro, I have a podcast," you know?
Ah,
And so, they're like trying to like go out and like go to dinner, but we're in the studio nerding out on like the camera and all this stuff. And it was, yeah, because there is something unique about finding your people, right? Like someone who's like, "Oh, you can relate to what I'm going through." Because, uh, you know, do you find that when you have similarities with people, you get to say all these things that you couldn't say to someone else because they wouldn't care? Like it's finally
yes.
like
And I
someone
just
where
came
you're
up
like, "You get me?" Mhm.
yeah, I just came up with a new word. It's a not a relationship. It's a a relation a relationship. It's like it's not a like to relate, a
Yeah.
relationship.
Right.
That's it.
A
A
relation to
relate
relate.
n-
Yep.
no,
Mhm.
no, yeah, a relationship. And when you can
Mhm.
relate with somebody, oh my God. And so for me, like with sailing, and here's just a tip. A lot of people, they don't talk about what they like to do for fun. They're afraid to share weird, nuanced things. They keep to themselves and keep things general. I was at this fancy biotech dinner and I sat down next to this dude and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And I was like, "Oh, I had some complaint about not being able to sail. Like it was just legitimate. They're like, the weather's shitty. I can't go sailing." And he's like, "You sail?" I was like, "Yeah, do you?" "Yeah." 45 minutes later, okay,
Yeah.
like we talked about
Uh-huh.
all sailing the whole time. And they're like, ding, ding, ding on the glasses, like, start, start. And we're still talking. And we're like, oh, okay, well, hey, we got to pay attention. What do you do for a living? And he's like,
Right.
I was like, shit, me too. And then we exchanged business cards. After 45 minutes, I raised 10 grand from the guy within 2 weeks after that. So it was just like rel relate relationships.
Relationship. Yeah. I love
Yes.
it. My favorite networking question to ask is, how do you spend your Saturday mornings?
Mm,
Because, my least favorite networking question is, so what do you do? Like
right.
as soon as someone says that, I'm like, I'm checked out, right? I can only
But
say that so many times tonight,
with that question, though, it's interesting, and I talk about this a bit. They're asking the wrong question, and that's probably why there's a disinterest
Mhm.
because nobody actually cares what you do. They don't.
Right.
And if you
Right.
poll audiences or you ask them, you're like, okay, I have a question. Do people care more about what you do Or do they care more about the problem that you solve? It can't be both. Really think about this as just a thought experiment. And overwhelmingly, if people think about it, they're like, no, people don't really give a shit if I am this job position, but they're really
Right.
interested if I can solve a specific problem. But the problem is, people don't say, hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you. What problem do you solve? They don't say that. They say, what do you
Hmm.
do? And then you say what you do, and then it's uninteresting. They're like, well, what do you do? It's uninteresting. And then they part. So a
Mm,
major hack that I have for networking or for people that I try to, have things be a little bit different. When somebody asks you, what do? You just go, well, I actually do a lot of things, but I'm most excited or I'm most interested or I'm most passionate about, insert your authentic voice, about solving one particular problem. And then you stop talking. It's like a 3, 4 second awkward silence. And they go, well, what's this problem that you're solving? And then you can share the problem, but no mention of the solution. Like, oh, this is terrible or this is whatever. And you're like, do you think that's a problem? And they're like, yeah. And then you can literally get people interested in your idea or what you do without telling them what you do.
right.
I
Right.
call it I call it I call it permission-based pitching. It's you don't
Permission based pitching. I love that. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I can
So,
get you interested in what I do without telling you what I do.
yeah. Okay. Well, so now, as the director of the Entrepreneur Center at UC
Yes.
Irvine, I'm assuming you work with a ton of founders. And the number one thing I see from founders who do like pitch competitions at Venture Cafe Phoenix is they go right into this is what we do and
You know what
not
they do before that?
what's
They go
that?
like this. My name is Ryan Foland and my thing is the extraordinary podcast.
Yeah.
That is okay, if anything, they don't know who you are, they don't care, and guess what? You were already introduced. Next up, Ryan Foland from Extraordinary Podcast. You're like, "Hi, my name is Ryan Foland," and you're like, "Wait," and then it's just so that's what they always start with. So like,
Yeah.
cut that out.
Yeah. You're
But they
right.
should
Well,
start with a story. That's what they should start with. And the story should uncover the problem. And only after that, you share your solution. And then you make sure to say, this is not for everybody, explain who it's actually for, and then come back with a story that you told in the beginning to close a loop with your solution in the future. Something I call the 313 sandwich. Although my stick figure drawing looks more like a burger, I'm told.
yes. Okay. So a couple things to
That was a
unpack
lot.
there.
Sorry.
No, no, no. To validate what you're saying about the introduction, it's like how
Yeah.
every comedian, when they're brought up, starts, "How we doing tonight?" It's like, dude, the audience has answered that 3 times. They don't want to answer it a fourth, right? That's like the habitual response. The second thing I want to unpack there with you, as it relates to a story, how important or is it important that that story is directly related to the founder?
You have like 3 options, okay?
Okay.
The most important thing about the story is it uncovers the problem. That's the core baseline. So it can be a personal story that uncovers the problem. It can be a story of a historical figure of something historically that actually has been out there and historically could be like yesterday or somebody else, like a real story, or it could be a hypothetical. It could be imagine someone who. So it could be your own story, a story of somebody else that's real, or a hypothetical, but they lead to the problem. And it's a full setup. As humans, like you in the back of your brain where it all started in the brain stem, it's like an evolutionary filter for bears. And if you come at somebody with a solution or with data or technology, it's like bear, stop. Like it won't even allow your
Right.
brain to get to the prefrontal cortex.
Yeah.
But if you say, I've got a story for you, or you tell a story. The bear detector is like, it's just a story. It's not a bear. Go ahead and listen.
Yeah, right. Is there a preference or is there like some science to when to use which type of story?
No, I'd say in preference, if it's a personal story, it's the most powerful. If it's a real story from someone else, it's the second most powerful. And the third would be a hypothetical, but depending on your storytelling skills, they can all be delivered in a way where people are open to paying attention. And in a pitch, you may think you're pitching for money, you're just pitching for attention. And if people are going to cue into your pitch because there's 5 before you, there's 12 afterwards, and it's only a
Right.
certain amount of time until they disengage and check their calendar for tomorrow. So it's more about the effectiveness of telling the story.
Mm.
And don't get me
Hmm.
started on stories because it's not only about the story, but it's about how to connect the stories to really make things powerful. And
For
it's like
sure.
the superpower.
Well, it's the superpower, and then yeah, okay. So this is funny. I think because we've bonded, because we've had the
Yes.
common bonds that we've had here.
Relationship. We have a
Relate
relationship.
we have a relationship. And you know what's funny is I've noticed this about myself in this conversation is I've focused more on gripes than I normally do with anyone else because I'm like, okay,
Okay.
finally someone I can talk to about this.
Right.
This is something I just noticed was going on. Another gripe I have though, because I gotta run it by somebody. Dude,
Do it. Do it.
when someone's telling a story and you're halfway through listening to the story and you're like, why are you telling me this story? Like it's almost does more damage than not telling the story at all, in my mind. What do you think?
Yes. Well, the simple story structure that I teach is you tell the story and then you transition and you say, the reason I'm telling you this is because you physically part of that. And then you share
Uh-huh.
the relatable lesson. And so if you had a gripe with somebody, it's that they didn't get to that point soon enough, or they didn't let you know that the transition was happening.
Mm,
So because people will go on and on for the story, but if you teach them to just get the point of the story across, and we can talk about, again, storytelling all day, some of the fundamentals, but you have to turn it back to the person who's listening to sort of re-engage that interest. And then the rest of the time is pulling the lessons from the story. That's what I
got
think.
it. So, just some examples for our listeners of what a transition could look like.
Oh, so the reason I'm telling you this is because, or ever since that happened, I've thought about things a completely new way, or ever since that moment, or forever from that point on, right?
Got it.
So
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
to zoom out just a little of how I see effective storytelling is that you first have to create context, context before content.
Mhm.
And imagine if you walked into a room blindfolded, had no idea where you were, you would be disoriented. You would have no context. You'd be like feeling for walls. You would be like trying to see if you would hit your head. You'd be
Right.
like, is this sturdy ground? And the
Right.
same thing happens when you tell somebody a story. So you have to give them orientation to the room. You have to say when it was 5:18 in the morning 2 Thursdays ago. You have to tell them who was there. You have to tell them what was happening. You have to tell them why it was happening. And you have to come up with that incident. So it's like who, when, where, what, why, how, and the incident. And once you get
Mm,
those things down, that comprises the story. Now, if you want to pump it up and get things more emotional, you play to the senses. I smelled, I could taste, I could touch, I could hear, I could see, I could feel, and then that adds in the sensory elements to it. And the final thing I'll say, just to round this out, most people retell stories. So there I
yeah.
was, and it was this time, and here's what's happened, versus reliving. Oh my God, you're there in the moment. So if you relive it, like, yeah, I have so many stories I want to jump into, but I won't. That's my point.
You just
Retell versus relive.
You just blew my mind, man. I thought that it was, just because a bit was bad that I would stop telling it, but it was because I was retelling it and not reliving it, because like, when you
Yeah.
got a fresh bit, it kills,
Yeah.
right? And then
Yes.
the shine wears off because you stop reliving it and you start
Yeah.
retelling it. That's
It's like present
genius,
tense
right?
versus past tense. Like if I write something in third person about myself versus first person, there's a different energy to it. And then if
Yeah.
you sprinkle on a little bit of ginger flair and you act it out, or you use the 4 levers, which is rate of speech, volume, vocal variety, and tone. And
Uh,
here's the cheat sheet for this. This is all speakership shit.
mhm,
If what you're saying is contextual, it's okay to speed it up. It's okay to talk about it fast, but you have to slow down for the important stuff. And
mm,
people aren't confident enough to slow down. But when you slow down, No matter what you say, cheese, tacos, burrito, it sounds important. In contrast to everything that is a little bit fast. So speed it up for context, but slow down for the important stuff. Volume, easy. People think I'm high energy. I'm just loud on purpose. That's it. That's it. That's it. Okay.
Another
Vocal
thing that we can
variety.
relate on. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Vocal variety. Like I'm a chill guy. I'm calm, but like if I need to pump it up, I'm just going to get a little louder. Vocal
Yeah.
variety. It's as simple as just making what you say go up and down. Monotone is the worst thing. And people
Right.
just get stuck into their zone.
Yep.
The final lever is your face. People don't recognize that your tone comes from your face. You smile and say good morning, it's like good morning. You frown, it's like good morning. And this happens all the time. My gosh, with students to adults, they're like, with a stone face, this is the most exciting thing I've ever done in my life. And it's like the body trumps what you say, no matter what, right? You get home late and the wife locks the door and you're in trouble and you knock and she opens it, folded arms, pursed lips, eyebrows down, glint, like the right eye is sort of twitching. And you're like, honey, I'm sorry I'm late. Is everything okay? And she goes, yeah, everything's fine. I mean, yeah, everything's fine.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, no, it's not. So people don't realize they worry about what they're saying, but they forget that their face actually says it all.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now,
Anyways,
so you have speakership and you
yes,
have other books in the ship series.
a whole fleet of them.
a whole fleet, and they are illustrated by your wonderful stick man drawings.
Yes. Well,
So
I illustrate them. Yes, by
yes,
hand. They're
that's
all hand
right.
drawn. Yes.
That's what I'm talking about, man. So my question is those four levers, for example,
Yeah.
do you find that those are just kind of innate to people? Like it's just intuitive? Like how did you realize that that was a thing that you had to like write down and actually do a service by telling people?
So I've been chasing after speaking at a high level for a decade,
Okay.
and if you think about the parts on the ship, you have like your tongue, your teeth, your mouth, your nose, your lungs, your diaphragm, your hands, not so much your ears because I can't really wiggle them, but you have these different components. And think of it as like there's one side of camp where you try to think of what to say,
Mm,
what stories to tell, what your message is, what you're getting across, the what. A lot of people focus on that. But the how side of the fence, there's really almost a limited number of things that you can do, right?
mm,
You can speak really fast or slow. You can be really loud or not. You can change the variety. And then you have what your body is saying. And those four components I've sort of boiled down to I wish there were three. Dude, I wish there were
mhm.
three. Like three is
Rule of
it.
three. I get it.
But
Yep.
this is
Hmm.
four. Actually,
Hmm.
three plus, how about this? Three, which is your rate of speech, your volume, and your vocal variety. That's the three. The
Hmm.
fourth, which is the bonus, is your body, because that's your tone. It sets the tone. Like for people who are maybe listening, if I was like, and I was trying to talk nice, you'd be like, wait, what's happening? Like my body is the thing that's like pumping up, or if I'm like this, right? So
Right.
the body is a whole separate thing. So maybe it's three levers and body language.
Mm.
Anyways, I already wrote the
Hmm.
book. It's in there as four levers, but when you chase after something for so long and you
Hmm.
just try to find the nuances, the devil's in the details, and the
Mm.
details are always the fundamentals. Have you
Mm.
ever studied martial arts or anything like that?
I have not studied martial arts outside of a couple
Okay, what's
classes
your
here and there.
sport then? What's a sport? Do you play
Ice
basketball?
hockey.
Ice hockey? Dude, are you kidding me? Talk
No
about a
way.
relationship. I played hockey for 15 years as a goaltender. Were you a goalie by chance?
No, I'm not a
Okay.
lunatic, man. Goalies are
Ah,
crazy, dude.
we are crazy. Dude, I played ice hockey for 15 years. I played in college at UCSB. I was on
Oh,
the roller
cool,
hockey
man.
crew like when that started to come out. So, dude, all right,
Rad.
the fundamentals of anything you can get down to. Fundamentals of hockey, You got to
Mhm.
have the legs. You got to skate.
Right.
As a goalie, I was a good goalie, by the way. I would skate, like, skating was so important to me. Like, I was one of the best
Mhm.
skaters on the team, and people be like, "Why are you focused so hard on skating?" I'm like, "Because it's the fundamental. It's what moves
Right.
my shit around. It's what makes me fast."
Yeah.
So, you
Uh-huh.
take anything, whether it's martial arts, hockey, or speaking,
Mm.
you focus on those fundamentals, the horse stance, the kicks, the basic stuff,
Mhm.
people forget how important that is. And when it
Right.
comes to your speakership, this is what holds the planks together.
Mm.
Or it would take what's so fun, I do these speakership talks and I'll bring somebody up and I'll have them give their pitch or I'll have them do whatever, right? And then they do it and I have the audience vote and then I just cover the 4 tips. And I actually talk about how dolphins do it. So I talk
Mm.
about what we can learn from dolphins. You know, they've got whistles, clicks, and pulses, but they speed up or slow down. They're loud or quiet.
Mm.
You've never met a dolphin that's monotone ever. And and dolphins always are smiling. They always have that little uptick. So you never see a dolphin, you never hear an angry dolphin. It's because
Yeah.
their tone is permanently smiling. So I talk about all these things that we learn from dolphins, and then I have them come up again and I ask them 4 questions. What in your speech or what in your pitch is the most important thing? Okay? Slow the fuck down when you do that. Like uncomfortably slow, okay?
Uh-huh.
Now, where do you want energy? All right, you need to be loud during that part. All right, now, you sir talked the same tone or the same monotone the entire time. Change it up. And then
Mhm.
finally, what are you excited about? Say it with a damn smile. And then they do it again and kind of do like live coaching, like speed up, so slow down, slow down. Okay, loud, louder. And Forbes, it is unbelievable the difference
Yeah.
between their first crack and their second crack. And then
Mhm.
everybody's like, wow. And then they don't practice and then they don't implement it. And then they just go back to stone face, monotone,
Mhm.
same speed because it takes practice to actually implement. You don't learn how to sail at the dock. You got to
Mhm.
get out there.
Yeah. Right. Right. So you've been chasing speaking for 10 years, and you've
Yes.
got the fleet, because I don't think I properly framed it up, all the sailing analogies. Ryan's also an avid sailor and has a podcast called Good Jibes. Um,
Yes.
and so you have a fleet of books. Um,
Well, it's a new series called
mhm.
Getting Your Ship Together. I've published Speakership. I'm writing Entrepreneurship, then Leadership, and my wife has agreed when I publish all 3, she'll co-author Relationship. You and I are going to write Relationship,
Mhm.
and then I've
I love
got
it.
salesmanship, sponsorship, internship, mentorship. That's the whole fleet to come. Like I'll be
Mm,
cranking out one of these at least one per year, but once I get faster, because you always get better when you do things,
for
maybe
sure.
like 2 of them per year. But for the foreseeable future, I'll be helping people get their ships together.
Nice. Get your ships together. I love it. Hey, okay, so a couple of things. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that you were nominated to be an extraordinary by Coleman. So how do you know Coleman?
So Coleman and I have done some awesome work at the evolutionary venture capital firm that he's involved with. And so the team over there and I have connected. I've done a lot of work with accelerators and incubators because, my friends, you can have the best idea in the world, the best technology stack, the sexiest looking app. But if you can't articulate it in a way that's compelling and you
Mm,
don't know how to storytell, it's not the best idea.
mm,
See that?
mm,
I went slow and low volume for dramatic effect. Anyways, behind the green curtain. So I worked with Coleman and Hannah to come up with a customized 3-part program that I call the Red Dot Accelerator for their portfolio of over 40 awesome companies to essentially help them understand how to get their own red dot. Red dot is twofold. I'm a big TEDx fan, and I think red dot, I think that red dot that you stand on, you'd think of a target and a dot. There's this thing that you're after. So
mhm,
it's really about helping people understand the storytelling component of what story to tell, and then how you actually tell that story, and then where to link those stories to moments that matter. So it's a 3-part series called the Red Dot Accelerator that essentially dives into some of the same shtick that I do, but
Mm,
specifically for founders. And there's this interesting element which Coleman is very excited about. I'm an AI power user, but I'm like, I believe in humans. And so I think human centric AI, where it can help you tell stories, it can help you discover stories, it
mm,
can help you with all these things, as
mhm,
long as you are the captain, as long as you are the one
mhm,
that is making the shots. So
mm.
it's human centric AI, leveraging tools, agents, along with this ability to communicate at your highest level. Because Forbes, as soon as you open your mouth, you show people who you are. And if you're raising money, you're building a business, you want to make sure you're sharing your best.
Yeah,
So shout out to
for
Coleman.
sure.
He and I have a great relationship and we just get all geeked out and just like this. Like I feel like our conversations or podcasts just not recorded.
He is an awesome dude. I met him at Venture Cafe Phoenix because he is, bringing some resources into the valley here with Alex Chomp and Hannah Savage, and building that up here in the Phoenix area. Um, Man, dude, our time flew by on this episode. We will definitely have to do another one. But I ask this question to everybody who's come on Extraordinary Stories, and it is, if there's one thing our listeners could do today to live more extraordinary, like Ryan Foland, what would it be?
Well, I might have to make another word up here for this. And it has to do with extraordinary, but for some reason it also sounds like extraordinary. Like
Hmm.
extraordinary to me, it sounds extraordinary. So if you truly want to be extraordinary, my tip to you is to be extraordinary. And that means being human, relating on bookshelves, talking about what you've done in the past. Like, dude, I can't believe that you played hockey. Like, I just want to talk about that now. Right. So
Right. Uh-huh.
people think that people think that others care about their story of success, but what they really care about is how they see themselves in your story. And
Mm,
we're all ordinary at the end of the day. Like on a Saturday morning, we all have something that we do. But if you're
mm,
afraid to share that or you're too timid to share that, then you're not going to connect with people. You're not going to have as much fun. You're going to just sit there and just hustle and grind and forget this beautiful life that we have a chance to live every single day. So be extra ordinary and don't have crazy high expectations for yourself. And if the first step is too big, then or if the first step is like too intimidating, like take a step back or just breathe at the end of the day. That's it. Be extraordinary to be extraordinary. That's what I think.
I love that, man. Yeah. Wow. And you
Because
can just
honestly, to be extraordinary is kind of intimidating. Like, what makes you
sure.
extraordinary? You're like, shit, I don't know. Like, I'm just an ordinary guy who's done
Yeah.
something in a specific path for a decade. So other people think it's extraordinary. I know we're short on time, but this might be another thread for another podcast. I ask people all the time, what's more important, your experience or your expertise? And most people think, oh, I got to be extraordinary. It's my expertise. That's what I'm striving for. Bullshit. What's most important is your experience because experience is what you've learned based on things going wrong, which makes you human, which makes you connect, right? There's a lot. I don't want to say this, but I've probably let in quite a few goals, more so than I would ever want to. But I strive for not letting them in. And if over time I let less in, then that's my expertise. But we
Mm.
thrive and live every day with our experience to be extraordinary.
Yeah, I totally get it, man. If people were to ask me what makes me extraordinary, it's that I'm just Forbes. I'm authentic, I'm curious, and I'm fun. And that's ordinary, but it
Yeah.
is extraordinary. I love it, dude. Yeah.
But you've owned that and you're cool to say that
Hmm.
and you keep showing up as that. And that's what makes it extraordinary, right?
Hmm.
You're not like doing backflips while you're doing things and doing extraordinary, crazy things, but you get out there and you consistently show up as you. And people want to do business with people and they want to do business with people who they know, like, and trust. But it all
Hmm.
starts with letting them get to know you. So,
Mm. Hmm.
mm,
You can,
yes.
man. We could fill
Chew
a
on
whole
that.
series with these. Yeah, chew on that. Yeah, Ryan's always just dropping knowledge. You can read more about Ryan Foland and the Get Your Ship Together series at joinextraordinary.com. That's joinextraordinary.com. Follow us on social media at Join Extraordinary on all your major platforms. I'm Forbes Shannon. Ryan, thank you so much for being here, man.
Thank you. And if you want to find me online and you remember my name, it's very easy. My website is ryan.online. That's
Ryan
it. Come
dot
check it out.
online.
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
You remember me, Ryan. Ryan, who's that guy? What was his last name? Forget about the last name. Just ryan.online.
Brilliant. Awesome. Thanks,
All right.
Ryan. Thanks for
We'll see
being
you
here.
soon, Forbes. Thanks. Adios.